Did you know that an ancient civilization's legacy can be found in the DNA of modern Uzbeks? In fact, their genetic heritage is so intertwined with history that it might be possible to find the genes of Alexander the Great within them. You see, many people believe that Genghis Khan and his Mongol hordes were responsible for creating the Silk Road. However, this is not true. The Silk Road was actually created around 200 BC by Emperor Wu of the Han Dynasty, when China was still ruled by the first royal family to ever rule over all of China. He wanted to control the trade along the route between China and Europe, because the silk produced in China was so valuable. Silk was so important to the Han Dynasty that they even used it as currency. And to get that silk to Europe, a massive network of roads had to be constructed. It would cover 4,000 miles and go through deserts, mountains, and jungles. Over time, the Silk Road became the busiest trading route in the world. But we need to remember that the Silk Road was not just one road, but a series of roads and trade routes. Along the way, there were oases where traders could take a break and do business. Eventually, these stops evolved into cities that became hubs of trade. One of these cities was Samarkand. Located at the crossroads of Asia and Europe, it would soon become the largest city in Central Asia with a population of about 250,000 people. Many cultures would influence the city during its long history, from Persians to Mongols. But it wasn't until Timur the Lame conquered the region that the city started to reach its peak. Timur the Lame was the leader of a Turco-Mongol dynasty. He led his army all the way from Mongolia to the Middle East, conquering many lands along the way. But when he died in 1405, his empire broke apart into smaller kingdoms. One of these kingdoms was the Khanate of Khiva. Its capital was the city of Urgench, which was known as the Jewel of the Desert. It was famous throughout Central Asia for its exquisite craftsmanship, beautiful mosques, madrasas, and soaring minarets made out of baked bricks. When the traveler Ivan Fedyushkin visited in the 16th century, he described the city as being like a fairy tale. Unfortunately, it was abandoned in the early 19th century when the nomadic Khiva and Bukhara Khans moved their capitals to more defensible locations. Nowadays, you can explore its ruins and imagine what life must have been like in the 15th century. But let's jump back to Samarkand, because after Timurid's death, it became the capital of the 15th largest empire in history, the Timurid Empire. It was a short-lived empire, though, lasting only about 80 years. Under the reign of the last Timurid Shah, Mirza Ulugh Beg, Samarkand reached its zenith. It was home to astronomers, mathematicians, and artists who built observatories and madrasas. It was also during this time that the Registan, which means courtyard, was built. At the time, it was the center of the city. Soon, 2 beautiful madrasas were built on either side of the Registan, making it the cultural heart of the empire. The most spectacular building of them all, though, was the Bibi Kanyam Mosque. Construction on the mosque started in 1417 and took 8 years to complete. Back then, it was the biggest mosque in the whole Muslim world, but nowadays it ranks 16th. Still, it's an impressive structure with 2 giant portals decorated with blue tiles and 24-karat gold calligraphy. After the Timurid Empire fell, the Muslims of Samarkand were ruled over by the Safavid Empire. They were a Turkish dynasty that controlled parts of Iran, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. Their rule lasted from 1501 to 1736, and under their reign, Islam became the dominant religion in the region. Next came the Arabs, who established the Arab Khanate of Bukhara. The Khanate lasted from 1556 to 1680, and was the last independent state to rule over the region before being absorbed into the Russian Empire. In 1865, a Russian general named Konstantin von Kaufmann reached Tashkent and forced the Emirate of Bukhara to sign a treaty that made them a Russian protectorate. This marked the end of centuries of independence for the region and the beginning of Soviet rule. The area eventually became part of the Uzbekistan Soviet Socialist Republic. But in 1991, Uzbekistan declared its independence and became the Republic of Uzbekistan. Today, tourists from around the world come to marvel at the architecture and soak up the atmosphere of this once great Silk Road city. What's amazing is how the various rulers over the years left their mark on the land. For example, Many of the Uzbeks alive today can trace their ancestry back to the Persians who settled in the region during the Islamic period. Over time, they adopted some of the customs of the Mongols and Turks who ruled over them, such as the use of felt hats. Meanwhile, the genetic legacy of the Sogdians is still present in the blood of the local people. These were the people who originally lived in the region before the Persian invasion. We even know about the genetic contributions of the Greeks and Romans, thanks to excavations at the ancient city of Afrosiab. The Greco-Buddhist statues found here show us what Central Asia looked like before Islam arrived. Scientists recently analyzed the DNA of one of these statues and discovered that the ancient Sogdians had the same haplogroup as ancient Greeks and Romans, which means that there may have been significant gene flow between the two regions during antiquity. This is further evidenced by a coin minted in Alexandria that shows a Sogdian king wearing Greek-style clothes. You see, the Silk Road wasn't just a trading route, it was a cultural one as well. Goods and services were exchanged, yes, but so were ideas, religions, and people. We think that the Sogdians were the ones who introduced Buddhism to China, and they also played an important role in spreading Islam throughout Central Asia. To this day, Uzbekistan is one of the most Muslim countries in the world, with over 95% of the population practicing Sunni Islam. Now, if you haven't noticed, this video is missing something: music. Music can bring people together, and it can transcend borders, cultures, and languages. That's why a platform for independent artists is so important. It's a place where musicians can share their work with the world without the hassle of getting a record label involved. It's also a place where fans can discover new music that they might not have otherwise heard. There are so many talented artists on the platform, and they need your support. So please take a moment to browse the catalog. You might just discover your next favorite artist. And if you're an artist yourself, I encourage you to join the platform and share your music with the world. Who knows? You might just find your next fan. The last people we need to discuss are the Mongols. Genghis Khan founded the largest contiguous land-based empire in history, the Mongol Empire, which covered a distance of 8.9 million square miles. After his death, his empire was divided among his grandsons, and one of them, Batakhan, controlled much of Central Asia. His grandson Orgadai managed to unite the fractured Mongol Empire long enough to conquer Western Asia and Eastern Europe. During his reign, he kept the peace among the various Mongol factions and created a stable government. In 1260, he moved his capital to Karakorum, located in present-day Mongolia. When he died in 1280, the Mongol Empire began to decline, but one of his sons, Guyuk, continued to expand his territory. He ruled over the Chagatai Khanate, which encompassed most of Uzbekistan today. When Guyuk died, his brother Berki succeeded him, and he converted to Islam. This marked the beginning of the Muslim-Mongol period in Uzbekistan's history. His grandson, Esen Buga, proclaimed himself the Emir of Transoxiana, which included Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and parts of Afghanistan. When he died, his brother, Turabek, took over and made Samarkand the capital of his Khanate. His son Yusuf was known as the Scourge of the East and terrorized the Chinese border towns for years. But when he died, his brother, Timur Kulug Khan, ascended to the throne and turned to reforming the Khanate instead of pillaging. He created a new legal code, issued copper coins, and built new schools and mosques. His successor, Qasr, made Islam the state religion, and the Golden Horde fragmented into three separate Khanates: the Crimean Khanate, the Nogai Horde, and the Kazan Khanate. The Kazakh Khanate lasted for another 200 years before being annexed by the Russians. So there you have it, the Silk Road warriors. Now you know where Uzbekistan got its name from. Do you know any obscure history facts about Uzbekistan, or perhaps you've visited the country? Please feel free to leave a comment down below. Like always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.